Welcome to class! Today's sequence is perfect for after a run, or if you just want to spend some time working on your feet, legs, and hips. You don't even need to get out of your running shoes for this one, although we will want to use the floor for a brief sequence to make sure we get into our outer hips. Before we get started, I'd love to invite you to move closer to us online by signing up for our weekly letter, totally free every Sunday, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and following us on Facebook and Instagram. So when you're ready, let's go. All right, let's get started standing. So take your feet underneath your hips. Make sure when you bend your knees, they're pointing straight ahead of you. So you turn your toes in or out, depending on what your bones do. Push down through your feet, straighten out through the legs. Take your tailbone towards the backs of the knees. Then wave your belly button back and up through the chamber of the ribs. Lift the side ribs up. Open the chest. Soften your shoulders. Draw your skull lightly up and back over all of that. See if you can access full dimensional breathing here. So every inhale, you're expanding your belly, your side waist, your back. Ground down through your feet. Your next inhale breath. Reach your arms all the way out and up to the sky. You can also modify that by doing cactus arms or reaching out in front of you if you got some shoulder stuff you're working on. Take another full big breath in, lift up with your heart and look up, but lengthen the back of your neck as you do it. And on your exhale, slide your hands together in front of the chest. Another big breath in, reach your arms out and up to the sky, fill your chest. And on your exhale, soften your knees. We'll tumble over the legs for a standing forward bend. Now here's something. You might be really tight in the backs of the legs here. They might be used to contracting for you. So you can widen this posture quite a lot. You can step your feet, I would say mat width distance, but if you're not using a yoga mat, it's, a few inches outside of your hips. Turn your toes in so you're pigeon toeing yourself here. And then let your spine drape over your legs. We're going for hip flexion here. So that's where your belly and your thighs move close together. And if that's not happening for you, soften your knees. So you're softening the hamstring at the knee joint so that you can get more space in the hamstring up at the hip joint. And then you can take your belly to your thigh and relax deeply down through the skull. If it feels good, to take your fists to opposite elbows, sway your upper body out a little bit, reverse the effects of gravity, get lots of space in the joints. Alrighty, soften the hands down. If it works for you to take the feet under the hips, then do that. Otherwise, you can find some variation of your feet as they are. And honestly, we'll all figure it out as we go together. So on your next inhale breath, we'll lift up to a halfway lift pose. That's where we're trying to get the front of the body to wave up to the spine and out through the skull, the back of the body to extend out through the pelvis. We're trying to get long. Some people call this like a flat back, shoulders on the back, skull forward. And quite honestly, we'll all be at different heights in space. We'll all have different bends in the knees. So find something where you can put the breath three-dimensionally into your whole rib cage. And then exhale, forward fold over your legs. Let's do that again. Inhale, create the shape, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. One more time. And down. Now ground your strong feet. Reach out and up with your arms. Lift up, look up. Exhale, hands together at the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. This time, exhale, soften the hands down by the side. Take them onto the hips. Squeeze the elbows together behind you. And if your skull pulls forward from there, something's going on. So we need to realign the whole system so that the skull and everything can be upright and neutral. And then for those of us who can clasp hands together, take your right thumb on top. If not, you're just going to keep your hands on your hips. If you have like a belt or like a hand towel or something you can pull onto that behind you. Getting the chest nice and open here. Take a full breath in, breathe into your back ribs and look up. And exhale, forward fold over your legs. Take the bind to the sky and overhead if that works. Feel your belly button draw to your spine and waterfall out through the skull. So it's the work of the abdomen that starts to create more space in the vertebra. Okay, release your hands first. Sprinkle the fingertips down to the floor. Next, inhale, breath halfway. And exhale, fold. Inhale, ground down, reach out and up to the sky. And exhale, hands together at the chest. Keep your right foot where it is. Step your left foot back a good amount. 3 feet, longer if it makes sense. We want to be able to pull the legs away from the midline without kind of torquing the bones of the pelvis and like stretching the joint apart itself. So we're going to try to keep the joints put together, especially in the pelvis here. So hands onto the hips so you can feel what this is. Feel your frontal hip bones. They should be in line with their second toes on a diagonal. Take the front pelvis into the body. So it's like the underwear flesh is kind of what I think of. And then hugging that back and letting that be a ripple effect up through the spine and out through the skull. Now ground your left heel down. Push your left heel down. Take your frontal hip bones more into your body. Take your hands on your hips. Feel your torso here so that you should feel yourself grow evenly up from the sideways. You can keep the frontal hip bones and the ribs moving toward each other and open the chest to the sky. Then take the hands to the upper back, squeeze the elbows in by the side ears. Notice if your front ribs kind of lift up with that. Do your work to try to keep the front ribs in, frontal pelvis bones in, and then start to draw your elbows back in space. This will put the stretch in your tricep muscle. Beautiful job. Go ahead and soften your hands down. Lift your back heel up. So now your pelvis and all of your body is facing forward. And then see if you can launch into a balance. Take your left foot off the ground, stand on your right foot. The ground's right there. Touch down whenever you want. We're going to see if we can reach back for the foot. And if not, again, you can grab around with a hand towel or something like that. Once you got your foot strapped her with the hand, root down through your right foot, get your pelvis level between your two legs. Use your right buttocks to hold the pelvis in place here. Lengthen both side waist out from the pelvis. That'll bring your left knee closer to your right knee. Draw your skull up and back. Keep your frontal hip bones drawing in, and at the same time, take your left knee continuously towards the back of the mat. When you're ready, release the grip, step your left foot in front and over to the side of the right foot. So you're in like a crisscross foot leg situation. Press down with your feet, squeeze that energy up through the legs into the pelvis. We're gonna attempt to get into the left IT band here, so the outer side of the left leg. Go ahead and take your arms skyward if that feels good. If not, just the left arm skyward is fine. Cactus is fine too. Take a full breath in, be a candlestick, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And then exhale, push into your feet, bow over the right side of the body so you can get into kind of like a banana shape with the left side. Okay, go ahead and pull on up out of that. Release your left foot right by your right foot. Take a full breath in, reach the arms up. And exhale, soften the hands down by the side. Take them to the hips, squeeze the elbows toward each other, and then if it worked for you on side one, take the clasp again, this time left thumb on top of right. Take a full breath in, push down through your feet, look up with your chest and your vision, and exhale, forward fold over the legs. Soften the hands to the hips, sprinkle the fingers down to the floor. Breath in, reach out of the pelvis halfway. Breath out, forward fold. Ground your feet, inhale, come all the way out and up to the sky. Exhale, hands to chest. Keep the left foot where it is. Take the right foot back considerably, at least 3 feet. Toes are pointing a little bit open, but the heel is still grounding and through the center of the heel. Then we want to have the joints well positioned, specifically the pelvis, which is several bones kind of fused together. So find your pelvis in space. Find, is it topsy-turvy? You can measure that from your pelvic bones to your armpits. They should be even on both sides. And then frontal hip bones in line with their second toe. Then we use the legs. We root down through the right heel back here. We pull that right leg back as if it's strapped up behind us. Then we push the left foot down and forward, the left ball mound down and forward, and draw that energy up the inner and outer seam of the leg evenly. And from the right heel pressing down behind us, we feel that cascades, well, that's like a downward motion. I was going to say it cascades up through the skull. Maybe you get what I mean. And then keep the frontal hip bones and the front ribs together. That's positioning the hips the right way and the ribs the right way so that now we can do that shoulder work. So reaching the arms, take the hands to the back of the skull, squeeze the elbows in and stretch just the elbows, the triceps up to the sky. Beautiful. We'll soften the arms. We'll lift onto the back toes so the body faces forward. We'll launch into balance. The floor is right there if we need it. And then let's lasso up that right foot behind us. Then put the attention in the standing foot. Press down. Use the left buttock muscles to hold the pelvis in place. Don't worry, we'll stretch them out. I know they already did a lot of work today. But sometimes it feels good to do a little strength work after the run too. Take your torso out of the pelvis evenly. Take your buttocks down. Right knee in to the left knee. And as we soften through that foot, we can step it right over to the front and outside of the left foot for the IT band stretch. So now it's the right leg. We want to push down through both feet, squeeze that leg energy up into the pelvis, up, out through an even and equal chest, arms up. And if not both, then you can drop the left arm down by the side. Totally fine. Take a full breath in like a candlestick. And exhale up and over the right side or the left side of the pelvis. Come on up out of that. Soften into the left knee a little bit so you can release the right leg underneath the hips. Soften the hips into a chair pose. So use the underside of your legs for that. Nice and strong, inner and outer seam of the leg. Work evenly into the pelvis. And then you ripple the arms along the ear. See if we can sit down to the floor, no hands. And then all the way down to the back. You can draw your knees into your chest a little bit, roll around. Soften the soles of the feet to the floor in front of you. And then hook the right ankle over the left knee well enough so that you can roll out through your sweet ankle a little bit. And if you are not wearing shoes, you can stretch out through your toes a little bit. That might feel nice. Now you decide if you're already feeling this in the outer right hip. That's a-okay. You can stay here. If you know that you want a different version of pigeon, by the way, do a different version of pigeon. But where I'll recommend us go is to lift the left toes off the floor and take the arms to hug behind the left leg if you can. If you can't, take your hand towel and strap it around and give yourself a little bit more space. Keep the right knee moving away from you. That's what will trigger that external rotation in the hip, which will give you more sensation probably. If you want more sensation, see if you can fold your left shin down and grab around your left shin. Breathe even space into your sideways. Soften your eyes, all the muscles of your face. Release the grip of your hands. Open your arms out like a cactus. Keep your legs as they are, but soften your left foot back down to the ground. And we'll go to a twist. So keep your legs in formation, but twist them over to the left. So your outer left knee comes down and the sole of your right foot like a little stamp on the floor. You decide pushing your right knee away from you or letting the knee drop inward towards the armpit. And then coming back on up through center, drawing the knees into the chest. Softening the right foot back down. Take the left foot, cross it over the right knee far enough so that it's easy to roll out the ankle and the toes. You decide if you want to stay here, or if you want to draw the right knee towards the chest for a reclined half pigeon, hugging behind the right thigh. A little bit more sensation if you grab around the right shin. That's another option. And continually work with your level of sensation as you draw your left knee away from your torso. Draw the shoulder blades toward each other on the back. You might see that this gets your spine longer, and it actually moves the head of your arm bone closer to the floor, so you're not rounding away from the floor. Release your hands, soften the right foot back down to the ground. Keep your legs, tee off your arms or cactus your arms. And then take your twist over to the right. Outer right knee, sole of the left foot to the floor. You're ready, come on back through center. Draw both knees into the chest. You can roll around a bit here. If you want to move towards a happy baby, you can either grab onto the backs of your thighs and press your feet up, or if that's working, then you can grab up for the soles of your feet. A lot of times our bottom will round up off the floor in order for us to achieve this. That's okay, but see if you can now take your frontal hip bones, if you can decipher where those are in space, if you can stretch them down away from your torso, which will start to take your sacrum back down to the floor. So a little opening for the inner groin, the inner thigh here, and you can always rock and roll a little bit left to right, side to side. To release, we'll let the legs rest in active rest. So really therapeutic posture for the hip flexor muscle, the iliopsoas, which starts at the inner thigh, wraps over the frontal hip bones, and it threads through the body and attaches to the low back spine. So to do that, take the soles of your feet to your mat width distance apart or just wider than your hips, and let the knees tent in on each other. See if you can figure out a position for the legs so that the bones get really heavy on each other and you can just kind of forget about them there. Rest the arms down by the side, palms up, and see if you can roll your arms open so that your arms are more weighted on the thumb side. Soften your vision and then close your eyes. Stay in this position, but deepen your breath. So on the next inhale, take a full inhale through your nose all the way down to your hips. And then easy exhale out through the mouth. Big breath in. Easy breath out. Breath in. Breath out. When you're ready, softly bring some movement into your fingers, even your toes here. And then roll out through your wrists. Draw your knees into your belly here. Roll around a little bit. And you decide how you want to come up. What can be really great about running is just kind of the burst of energy that it gives us. So if you want to take advantage of that energy, you can take the hands behind the backs of your legs and start to rock and roll the length of your spine. It can start off really easy. And of course, if that's like too much, don't worry about it. Just roll over to your side and come up like you normally would. And after a few of those rocks, come on up to a comfortable cross-legged seated position with your hands wherever makes the most sense. Elbows underneath your shoulders, hands on your torso somewhere, hands on at your heart. Enjoying these last few moments of our practice to be still, to be quiet. Thank you so much for joining in today's practice. I hope you had a wonderful class experience. Have a wonderful day.